Some of the details that have come out of the Southport Inquiry today are absolutely shocking. Axel Rudakubana's parents have spoken at the inquiry today, and it is now clear as day that this tragedy could have been prevented, and these three beautiful little girls could have still been with us today. A lot of people said in the past this could have been prevented because Axel Rudakubana was referred to prevent on 3 occasions, but now we are hearing a multitude of other events where he could have been stopped. Clearly the alarm bells were raised and nothing was done. The parents in particular completely failed in their duties to protect not just their child but these 3 beautiful little girls and every other member of society. This monster Axel Rudakubana, he should have and could have been stopped. Now, Exhibit A, where do we start? This is in the Sky News coverage of what has been heard at the inquiry today. We find out that Axel Rudakubana actually attempted to go to his old school a week before the Southport attack to do a mass stabbing there. So the Southport attack was actually attempt number 2. He tried the week before. His parents knew about it. Did his parents bother to call the police? No, of course not, because they didn't want their son to be arrested. After the first attempt, he should have been arrested. Authorities should have stepped in. He should have been behind bars, making sure that he is not on the loose. But his parents failed to do the right thing. His mother says, even though that was the case, that was not the intention I had, i.e. even though she should have called the police, she decided not to. She says she was distressed and broken at the time, so wasn't thinking straight. She decided deliberately not to report it because she and her husband didn't want their son being taken into care or arrested. There's no way I'd do that, the mother says. I'm sorry, but sometimes you have to put your love for your son to the side to protect wider society, and also you're going to protect him better if you give him the tough love that he needs to make sure that he gets the help from authorities that it is necessary. And then we also find out, folks, that on the day of the Southport attack, Axel Rudakubana left knife packaging in the washing machine. And it was found there by his mother, the inquiry has heard, shortly after Axel Rudakubana left the house and was on his way to that Taylor Swift themed dance class where he carried out that brutal attack. Why did she not call the police then? But the mum says her palm print was on the packaging because she pushed it into a plastic bag on an earlier date. Not sure exactly what she's saying there, but she says, I'm telling the truth, I'm not lying to you. Knife packaging was also found in an outside bin. Asked if she put it there, the mum says, she comes a bit emotional. They had to pause the inquiry earlier because she was crying so much, and she gets upset. She says she hates knives with all her heart. The knives have been used to kill my family, and so on. So it was quite hard to get everything out of her when she was so emotional. But ultimately, the mum said she didn't think about calling the police or calling her son, despite finding knife packaging in the washing machine, and despite the fact that a week before this he had attempted to do a mass stabbing at his old school. I'm sorry, but that is a complete and utter failure from that mother. I know that she's emotional, and I know she's put out a statement saying she feels really sorry for everyone, but there's just no excuse for this. Absolutely no excuse for this. And then we also find out that he was caught with a knife on a bus back in 2022. Bit of an alarm bell. You would think after that actually you should do something serious to get your child in order, but no, that didn't happen. And then we find out that I believe after he was caught with that bus on a knife back in 2022, that the police officer that was dealing with him told the mother that her son, Axel Rudakubana, had been talking about this desire to make poison, right? Bit of an alarm bell, you think you'd do something there. But the mum says she doesn't remember anything about poison, and And the council in the inquiry is concerned that she is not being completely honest, and this has really annoyed the parents of the victims at the inquiry who are listening to this. We'll look at their statements very shortly. And also, the mother, we believe, we're hearing from the inquiry, discovered a bow and arrow, a bottle of pure alcohol, and firecrackers in his room. This is after he's been found, this is last year. This is after they've had previous issues with him where they've heard that he wants to make a poison. They've heard he's been found with a knife on a bus attack. We've heard that he's been very violent and aggressive at home, particularly with the father. Does that not ring an alarm bell when you find a bow and arrow, pure alcohol, and firecrackers in the boy's room? But oh no, the mother says she knew about the bow and arrow, but thought it could just be for sport, even though he doesn't do a sport that involves a bow and arrow. He's not some archery extraordinaire. Just honestly, it's shocking. And then, as I just previously said, he was known to often be quite violent and aggressive around the house. Apparently, he would always have these outbursts. He would have them multiple times a day, and that he would smash things around the house. Like, hello, alarm! How many alarm bells do you need to do something about your son's situation? And then also, we find out at the inquiry that the school raised concerns about Axel Rudakubana looking at inappropriate material on the computers at school, including of school shootings. From the age of 13, this is the kind of stuff he was looking at on the computers at school. If I found out that my child was looking at videos of school shootings online, I would be taking immediate action. I would be taking absolutely immediate action, not just for my child, but to make sure he doesn't do anything like that and harm anybody else. Why didn't the parents do anything about this? And also, they wanted to help this kid. The school saw that there was something wrong because guess what? He didn't turn up to school for 10 months. The kid was missing. He didn't turn up to school for 10 whole months. You'd probably be freaking out if you find out that your kid didn't turn up to school for 1 day. This kid doesn't turn up for 10 months. They then said, can we do a home welfare visit to check on the home and check on Axel and see what's going on? Mum refused it. She refused it. There was an opportunity for help to be given to them. She refused it. The mum is said to have complained about the visit, reporting her annoyance and confusion, and she flatly refused to let them see Axel Rudakubana, her son. She tells the inquiry if she let them in, her son would break things and have another outburst. A doctor noted parental accommodation was the central problem driving the dysfunctional family dynamic after another visit. That's what is being heard at the inquiry. And the mum says keeping things calm and safe was the main focus. So many opportunities here, so many opportunities to have stopped this vile incident. Absolutely horrific. And the parents did nothing. And as you can imagine, the parents of the victims are furious. This is part of a statement today from the inquiry from one of the parents of one of the victims, saying, your failure to take responsibility, to act and to intervene when there are clear signs of danger directly contributed to the devastating loss of our daughter's life. This tragedy was not inevitable. It was the result of neglect by those who should have known better, and by a system that repeatedly ignored warning signs. And this one's a little bit long, but I think the whole thing is just incredibly damning. The parents of Elsie are saying that the parents need to be held to account, and they say when it comes to the statements from Axel Rudakubana's parents specifically, we feel this needs to be said. Reading their statements has only added to the unbearable pain that David and I already live with every single day. I'm not surprised. The parents went to the inquiry and they said, we're so sorry this happened. We're so sorry that we made mistakes. But it hasn't really relieved the victims' parents at all, because they found out as part of this that there were many opportunities, more opportunities than they previously realised, for the parents to do something about this. Clear as day warning bells, and they just didn't bother. I would be I am furious, but if I was one of these parents, I would just be absolutely seething, to be honest with you. We knew early on that their lack of parenting played a part in all of this, but these statements reveal a failure of preventing on a whole new level. We believe they should be held to account for what they allowed to happen. They knew how dangerous he was, yet they stayed silent. They didn't report their concerns, they didn't act, and in doing so, they failed not only as parents but as members of our society. And they say that the statements from Axel Rudakubana's parents show no real remorse or acceptance of the devastation their son caused. As showed you in some of the previous statements, the council, Moss, at the inquiry has suggested that maybe the mother is not being entirely truthful to that inquiry, is potentially lying in some ways to downplay the severity of her mistakes, and that is really frustrating. The parents, they knew his behavior was escalating. They saw the signs, the obsession, the growing desire to harm, especially in the months, weeks, and days before the attack, and still they did nothing. And these parents of Elsie, they say the father in particular is to blame. They say about the father, when he left their home that day wearing the same clothes as the week before and carrying the weapon they knew he had, I believe they knew he was going to do something horrific, yet they neither stopped him nor called the police. His father in particular has downplayed his inaction and withheld the full truth of what he knew. I have no doubt his latest evidence is yet another attempt to protect himself and his family's reputation rather than what really happened. Wow, very emotional, very, very powerful. I really, really feel for those parents having to go to that inquiry and having the bravery to say what they have said. They're absolutely shocking. So we know that it's not just Prevent and the authorities that failed, but the parents. There was an attempt. This boy attempted to go and do a mass stabbing at his school the week before. The parents knew it. They did not call the police. Should have been behind bars after that. They did not call the police. They let the kid be free and do what he wants because they didn't want their son to be arrested. This is at the expense of other people's lives. I have to say I'm absolutely disgusted. Absolutely disgusted. But anyway, there we go. That is the latest on the Southport Inquiry. There'll be a summary of all this come out. Not until spring at the latest. You know how inquiries move, they move really slowly, but these updates we've had about what's been heard in the inquiry today is pretty shocking. Thank you very much for watching. Hit subscribe down below if you haven't already. Massively helps us out and means that you will see more of our videos. Thanks very much for watching.